Most people don't realize how deep the divide runs between American and European beef. In the United States, beef is a fixture, big steaks, burgers, and ranches stretching across the Midwest. Yet step inside a supermarket in Berlin or a family kitchen in Paris, and something stands out. American beef is almost completely absent. Did you know that lobster, chicken, and certain American cheeses are also missing from most European shelves? Imagine looking for Texas ribeye or Nebraska strip in a butcher shop in Lyon. The staff often don't recognize the names, and the cuts are different. This video explains 10 reasons U.S. beef is excluded from so many global markets, even in places where beef is popular. Every fact is based on trade documents, industry reports, farmer testimony, public records, and regulatory filings. The aim is to show the real, unfiltered realities. No marketing spin, just facts. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe. Number 10. Hormone rules. In a European deli, nearly every cut carries a hormone-free or organic label. Most Americans are used to supermarkets full of conventional beef, about 92% raised with growth hormones. U.S. regulators allow hormones if final tests show safety for consumers. In contrast, since 1989, the European Union and United Kingdom have banned U.S. and Canadian beef that uses common hormones like estradiol or testosterone. EU scientists believe these hormones could increase the risk of cancer, especially for children and the immune-compromised. That first year, U.S. beef exports to Europe fell 59%. U.S. officials argued their products were backed by decades of food safety research, but the EU kept its hormone ban in place. Today, this zero-tolerance policy still blocks almost all American beef from the European market. Maybe you've noticed this yourself. What's one food restriction overseas that made you reconsider what you buy? Number 9. Traceability gap. In Australia, beef processors track each animal from birth with electronic tags. These records follow every cow from the farm to the supermarket. Since 2015, Australia's top import standards require full traceability from birth. Australia imports about 700,000 cattle from Canada and 1.2 million from Mexico each year, but requires the same tracking. The U.S. has some record-keeping systems, but they're mostly paperwork and do not match Australia's electronic tracking. This shortfall makes it extremely difficult for U.S. beef to qualify for Australia's main markets. For large-scale U.S. ranches, adapting to this system would be costly and complex. The difference is more than a technical detail. It's a major roadblock. Number 8. Disease concerns. In December 2003, the U.S. reported its first case of mad cow disease. The response was swift. Many countries, including Australia and New Zealand, added new restrictions on U.S. beef. About 4,500 kilograms of meat were recalled. International regulators studied U.S. safety procedures and raised the bar for future imports. The U.S. beef system introduced more safeguards and eventually regained Category 1 status, but many export barriers remain. For most Americans, food safety standards seem straightforward. In global markets, one disease outbreak can change export rules for years, if not decades. Number 7. Certification burden. U.S. farms trying to export to Europe face a difficult process. Only hormone-free beef can be shipped. As of March 2025, just 14 American farms or feedlots have the needed USDA export certification out of over 732,000 operations nationwide, less than 0.001%. These farms face layers of record-keeping, animal tracking, and on-site inspections to access a small export quota. Most prefer serving the strong U.S. market instead. The costs, paperwork, and time just aren't worth it for most producers. Number 6. Local surplus. Most grocery stores in Munich or Madrid rarely display beef from outside their region. The EU and countries like Argentina often produce more beef than they consume. Australia exports 68% of its total beef production. Argentina, despite high per capita beef consumption, keeps a surplus. In Europe, beef is pricier and less frequently eaten than in the U.S. Local suppliers easily meet demand, leaving little need for imports, especially those that don't match health or quality standards. In the UK, 3/4 of imported beef comes from nearby Ireland. Americans are used to affordable, widely available beef, but in many countries the incentives for imports just don't exist. Number 5. Paperwork costs. For the average U.S. cattle rancher, tracking each animal's full history, keeping hormone-free standards, and passing frequent inspections wipes out any profit. American ranches tend to be large, sometimes thousands of cattle. These businesses focus on volume, not individual record-keeping. By contrast, European family farms often have hundreds, rather than thousands of animals, making documentation more manageable. Shifting U.S. beef to strict traceability would dramatically raise prices at the supermarket. Americans often hear that such changes would hurt the industry, but many still wonder, if Australia and the EU can make traceability work, why not the U.S.? It's a small detail, but one worth asking. When was the last time you saw a major label or price change at your local meat counter? Number 4. Trade stalemate. Over 30 years, the U.S. and EU have fought ongoing trade battles through the World Trade Organization. Despite one ruling in favor of the U.S., the European market didn't open as expected. In the end, the EU kept its hormone ban, and the U.S. secured a narrow quota, 45,000 tons of hormone-free beef, much of which is already claimed by other countries. For context, the U.S. produced 12.66 million metric tons of beef in 2022. The quota lets the U.S. export about 33,000 tons to Europe, just 0.26% of its total output. While public ceremonies often highlight trade deals, the basics haven't changed, and access remains tightly limited. Number 3. Consumer demand. In most European countries, shoppers look for regionally labeled organic or grass-fed beef. At a market in Florence or Vienna, products list exact origins. European cattle eat more grass compared to American grain-fed herds. Organic beef is considered premium, while in the U.S. it's about 3% of sales. Big fast food chains in Germany and France like McDonald's and Subway buy only local beef and promote regional supply chains. Americans might be surprised to see how little demand exists for imported U.S. beef, even if it were fully legal to bring in. Number 2. Double standards. The trade debate presents a contradiction. U.S. officials criticize European standards as non-science-based, yet defend tough U.S. import rules in other areas. When it comes to traceability and health, Australia and Argentina demand the same from U.S. beef as their own farmers. Nothing extra. U.S. producers call this unfair, but these countries say it's simply holding all suppliers to the same requirements. It's a mindset gap. What U.S. companies see as a barrier, others consider a baseline rule. By now, you might be comparing it to your own life. What's one food or product that was suddenly banned or restricted where you live, and how did people respond? Number 1. Domestic priorities. The key issue isn't just why other countries avoid American beef. It's also about what Americans expect foreign markets to accept. Since the 1950s, the U.S. built its food system on scale and efficiency, large ranches, feedlots, and innovations that prioritize low prices and wide supply. In Europe and Australia, beef production focused on smaller farms, regional sources, and high levels of public trust in local food. These differences go far beyond what ends up on the dinner table. They reflect deep cultural values and regulatory histories. For Americans, seeing a meat counter in Lyon or a supermarket freezer in Berlin can highlight how much tradition and law control the foods people eat. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this.